this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. I think my last video got lost in the wash, and it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. In the first part of the video, I was trying to convey the message that we should love our children, and I had video clips that didn't mean anything. It was just all about the children. And in the second video was to segue into the idea that how we nurture and love our children determines how they turn out. And then I went on to say that toxic people who want out of the community should be given a hand up to get out. That's what I said, and I don't back down from that. And if y'all see somebody out here making videos about me, just understand that I guess that's because my channel is growing. But anyway, have a good laugh, because I don't care what they say. This is nonsense. And now black women hate black men and black men hate black women. I do not believe that black women started this gender war. I go back to 2017 when I joined YouTube. I was shocked by all of this vitriol and hatred that was coming out from black men toward black women, especially single mothers. And at first, there were no black women rebutting what they were saying, and then gave the rise of certain black women, and then came one that's intelligent and fearless, and she is a match for one and all. And now they're all making videos about her when she didn't even start out making videos about them. She started out talking about white supremacy, and then they all came in on her. And I remember that. All of these men, even that old man with no teeth, came in on her. And I thought at the time he should be ashamed of himself, talking about this young woman like that. But she proved to be more than a match for them. This all started because you got a problem with single moms. All black women in the United States are not single moms. And anyway, if single black moms are not asking you for anything, why are you stalking and harassing these women? I'll tell you why. You didn't have a problem with single black moms as long as you were laying up with black women getting babies. Black women were going to the welfare office, getting checks and food stamps and a project that you wanted to lay up in and get half of the welfare check and half of the food stamps because you were the baby's daddy, so you deserved half. You didn't have a problem with that as long as the family court system didn't require black women to give them the names of the men they had been dealing with. You didn't have a problem with single moms. Black men were going around bragging about how many children they had. Remember? It became a problem when the white man told you, you are going to take care of these children. And he did that because you started messing with those white women. And white men have to pay child support. And they don't have to have a white man in a black robe looking over his glasses at him, telling him what the responsibility of a man is. So it was the white man that put his foot down and said, you can play now, but you're going to pay later. You're going to pay to play. And the reality is black women let black men get away too long. They should have been dragged their asses into family court and made them pay child support. And that way it'll cut down on some of this philandering and reckless behavior. They should have been made them pay child support from way back in the 1930s or 20s. So I don't back down from anything I said. If the black community is going to heal, black people cannot be afraid to confront problems. Yes, single mothers in the black community are a problem. Some of the worst parents in any school system that black children attend are black mothers, not just single black mothers, but black mothers who especially don't want their sons disciplined. They will come to the school and raise hell with anybody if those boys come home and tell them anything. They are blaming it on the teacher, the children, the principal, the janitor, the bus driver, the people in the lunchroom. They'll blame it on anybody rather than make their sons responsible and teach them to discipline, to control their mouth and their behavior. So yes, that is a problem. And then the other side of it is you have them who won't even show up at the school. And believe it or not, those boys whose mothers don't show up at the school raising hell, are the ones who turn out the best sometimes, because they very often become the athletes and they'll listen to their coach. It's the ones whose mothers are coddling them and making them think they're right about everything and that everybody ought to listen to them because they're important. Those are the black men that are being ruined by their mothers. They're the ones who think the world owes them a free ride to do whatever they want to do. And if they don't get it, they're going to blame it on black women because mommy has promised them that they're perfect and everything is supposed to go their way. What one of our elementary principals would tell us when we would have problems out of these problematic black women, she would just say, let them go on. We accommodate them in elementary school, but wait until they get into middle school and high school, and wait until life hits them. That's when the reality is going to hit. And this is what black women are looking at. You're looking at the reality of black men who want to still live in the delusion that what their mother told them was true. And then they get out in the world and they find out they got to compete with other men. The woman you want doesn't want you. Or the white man said you're going to do it. If he said you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Or you're going to go home and live in your grandma's back room. Or you're going to end up going to jail. And then they fight each other. They won't even try to get along with each other. So the only outlet they have is black women. We have a situation in some of these communities in black America where nobody is safe. Children, babies in a stroller, women, old folks, handicapped people, nobody is safe. And nobody's willing to challenge them. Now, we just heard O'Shea Duke Jackson just said in Atlanta, a rapper and 28 of his friends, I guess gang members, were arrested last year. And crime has gone down 30%. And I'm happy to say that the city attorney of Atlanta is a black woman. And she said if anybody even talked about destroying somebody's life, they were going to jail. So at least 28 of those menaces to society have been taken off the streets. Now, how many of them are going to go into a court of law in Atlanta and blame what they did on black women? Not a single one of them, because they know that it doesn't make sense anywhere except in the minds of ridiculous black people. And since black men call what I'm saying hate speech, I think they should put it to the test. The next time they get into any kind of trouble, whether the police stops them for speeding or whether they rob somebody's store or steal somebody's flat screen TV, which they'll do if they get a chance, some of them, tell that to the court. That it's black women's fault that you broke into somebody's house and stole all of their flat screen TVs. Tell that to a court of law and see how far it gets you. If black women were truly the cause of the problems in the black community, somebody would see it besides black men on social media. Somebody else would see it. And fortunately for the judicial system in the United States, you got to bring some facts. You're not going to go up in a court of law after you've done something heinous and then blame it on somebody that you don't even know. Pity the fool. You're a grown man going up into a court of law blaming your crimes on women that you don't even know. All that's going to do is make the judge add time to your sentence. And it won't matter if the judge is black or white, male or female. And let's go back to school. Let's go back to the school days. One of the biggest problems I had as a school teacher was confronting single black mothers and sometimes married black mothers who did not want their sons disciplined. And every time something came up, they came to the school raising hell because you would not let them destroy the learning environment in your classroom. And it wasn't just me. It was all of us, whether you were a black teacher or a white teacher. Now all of a sudden they're in love with all these other races of people. Those people couldn't stand them when they were students in school and did not want to teach them. And they felt so strongly about separating black boys from the main school population that they put as many of them in special education classes as they could and put them in a trailer in the back of the school. And they didn't even have lunch with the rest of the children, depending on how many white children would be in that school. Umar Johnson is one of the few black people who really understands how the educational system in this country works against black boys. This is done mostly to keep black boys out of the regular school population, and that's how come they don't get a quality education graduating from high school reading on a second and third grade level. And this is a very important point. The only people who could halfway manage a classroom with black boys in them, especially in middle school, were black women. Black men managed them the best, but there aren't that many black men in elementary and middle school. So what's left is black women, white women, and a few white men. What they learn very early is not to cross that racial line. They can get as angry as they want to with white women and white men, but they don't cross that line. And the way they cover up their fear of confronting the white person is that they fall in love with them. They fall in love with the white women. And really, they fall in love with the white men. And that keeps them from having to stand up to them. And they don't really cross that line with black men either, because I have seen black men sling them to the floor and hold them there. So what's left is black women. Easy target, low-hanging fruit, snatching teachers' wigs off, cussing teachers out, fighting with the teacher. And this is the girls and the boys. And so they come out of school thinking that this is how life is. You can just take anybody on. And then when they realize they can't take just anybody on, they resort back to black women. I contend that black women did ruin them. But all of the black women in the United States are not responsible for how they turned out. Many black American men were brought up by overprotective mothers who coddled them, did not make them responsible for their behavior, and also they made their sons feel like they were really important. And that's one of the reasons they run around here calling themselves kings. And there is another reason why these men, some of these men anyway, are railing against single mothers. And this is something that they will never tell you. Way back in the day, before DNA testing, men would mess around with women that they didn't want to be seen in public with, but they would mess around with them in the dark. And then the woman would come up pregnant, and they would just say, no, it's not mine, she's a hoe. And they never had to take any responsibility for that child. Then the DNA test was developed. And it is accurate. One of my friends as a lawyer says it is 99.9% proof. So if the DNA test says you're 99.9%, you're the daddy. But they don't want anybody to know that they've been messing with some of these women. And then these women go to court. And again, it goes back to the white judge. The white judge says you're not going to get any food stamps. You're not going to get a project, apartment. And you're not going to get a welfare check until you tell us who the child's father is. So then she doesn't have any resources. The guy is not even owning her. And she needs some help. She's 16, 17, 18 years old. And she needs help. And so she tells on him. And now everybody knows. See, that's a part of the problem that doesn't get talked about. A lot of these guys, they hate single mothers for different reasons or another. Many of them have been rejected by the very women they're talking about. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that what was done in the dark comes to the light by way of DNA testing. And now everybody knows that this woman that you don't like, that's wearing a weave, overweight, and whatever else they say is wrong with black women, that's who you got a baby by. And you don't want anybody to know that. So now you're on social media trying to drag every black woman down, including the ones that didn't want you, because that's what you had to settle for. See, that's a part of it, and I'm not making this up. I have friends that are social workers, psychologists, preachers, teachers, counselors, and kinfolks. So this is not something I made up. A lot of them are angry because they got caught with the ugly duckling. So the ugly duckling syndrome is alive and well in these YouTube streets, as they say. So that's one reason for all of this hatred towards single black mothers. The black community can't heal if everybody's pointing the finger. We have to do better if we want better. And we all have to work together to get it. So I'm going to end the video on this note, y'all. Let me know what you think about the video. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share the video. And as always, have a great day. And watch out for my next video, because I'm going to share some of the comments that you gave me about helping the passport brothers out of the country. Okay. Bye-bye.